Hello, namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Tax Talk with AJ. This weekly talk show on the taxes during the tax season brings you all the latest that you need to know about taxes, whether it's a personal taxes, corporate taxes, all the information that you can find out in this show. The show is brought to you by Science CPS Services, a full-fledged, complete professional accounting firm located in the state of New Jersey, multiple locations, but they can help you no matter where you are in the country. You can give them a call at 908-888-8900. That's a 908-888-8900. Visit their website, sciencecpsservices.com. As we go along, I will tell you more about Science CPS Services because now we are in the middle of tax season and we have a lot to discuss in this episode, just like we do all the time. With that note, please join me to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar, CPA and MBA with over 25 years experience with Science CPA Services. AJ, good to see you. How are you?
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction.
You're very welcome. How is the midnight oil burning?
It is burning. I'm losing more hairs every year.
I see that.
It's a matter of time when I'll stop saying it because I wouldn't have any hairs left. But it's going well.
Okay.
Thank you.
But they say people who make money, their hair actually grows. So you are making money in this tax season. Why are you losing hair?
Apparently, I'm not making money then.
All right. With that note, after a little humor, let's start our episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about obviously, taxes. Taxes are going to be there. That's the main focus. But with the taxes comes along mental stress. As we have noticed, lately in the last few years or decades or so, mental stress has been rising among the taxpayers. They are a bit apprehensive, they are a bit concerned, they're a bit disappointed with the taxes, even when they have to pay taxes. And I am talking mainly about individuals who own businesses, because when you are a business owner, there are various taxes that you have to pay, and that can be really disturbing your mind. So that's why we're going to talk about taxes along with mental stress. It's going to be interesting show. AJ, let's start with tax planning and strategies.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji, absolutely. So the idea is everybody is thinking about taxes. Taxes are on everybody's mind. So today's talk is about taxes and mind, basically money and mind. So we have our guest here. We'll be talking to her about it as far as the mind and the pressure related to taxes, anxiety. Having a small business is very stressful, but when you have to go through these taxes, it becomes very difficult to manage certain priorities. So as we were discussing earlier, when we talk about taxes, even though everybody talks about IRS, everybody talks about income tax, but that's not the only type of tax we know. If you take a step back, look at the tax situation here. There is income tax, and that's IRS, federal income tax.
Capital gains
we
tax.
have state income tax. Then we have capital gain tax. So take an example. If you have husband-wife making 200,000, 250,000, they are paying almost 30% tax to IRS, 9% tax to the state of New Jersey. This is just the income tax. If they had capital gain tax, at least 15%. In some cases, it could be as high as 20% capital gain tax. They are making some money, so they are paying Social Security tax, 6.2%, Medicare tax, 1.45%. Property tax. So they own a home in Addison, Islay, East Brunswick. They probably have 15 to 20,000
easily
of property tax.
And then the sales tax we have.
Then we have sales tax, which is 6.625%. So if you add all these components, sales tax 6%, property tax 6 to 8%, capital gain taxes, state income tax, federal income tax, property tax, almost 60%, if not more, 60% of the income goes out in taxes. How do you make the ends meet now? A penny saved is a penny earned. So no wonder people are stressed. There is a lot of anxiety around it when the word comes taxes. The word taxes has a negative connotation around it. You say, I have to tax you. I have to take something away from you that you should not be paying. So the word taxes brings anxiety, has a negative connotation around it. As much as 60% of what you earn is taken by the government in one or the other form of taxes. What can you do about it? So in this show, we'll talk about three things. How do you create a strategy around it? How do you plan to save taxes, to make it easier on you? And how do you execute? How do you implement? So strategize, plan, and implement. Three things we'll be doing when it comes to saving taxes, making your life easier, and not be scared of taxes.
And then where does mental stress fit in those three categories?
Everywhere. If you take a step back, please. Anytime you have to talk about taxes, property tax, my property tax are highest. This is what everybody in New Jersey believes. When it comes to income tax, I'm the only one paying income tax. Everybody else is not paying income tax. Do I have to pay the state income tax as well? Why am I not getting any benefit of capital losses on my state tax return? I paid taxes with my W-2. No. That was only Social Security and Medicare. Now you pay income tax to us. You keep coming up with a new name. You keep coming up with a new category to tax me. No wonder I'm stressed about it. That's where we bring in the stress angle. That's where we bring in our guest to help manage the stress. Tax is what the tax is. Tax is what you have to pay. And we'll help you. We'll give you a strategy, multiple strategies. We'll give you a plan and we'll help you execute the plan to lower your taxes, to manage your taxes. But more than managing the taxes, you need to manage the stress as well.
All right, so talk about the stress. As AJ mentioned, that mental stress comes in all those three categories that he mentioned. Talk about the stress. And as I said earlier in my opening remark, that people are getting really stressed out over little things, and taxes are really a huge part of their life. And no wonder that they get stressed out because of taxes. So in this episode, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy on behalf of Science CPA Services and AJ Kumar, I'm so happy to introduce a person who's part of this hope and healing thing and helping out individuals with the mental stress relieving. For over 30 years, she is the founder and owner of Laszlo Center. Laszlo Center is where individual can go in for hope and healing and to have their stress relieved in various ways. And the person has seen the individuals who are really stressing out because of taxes. So we are happy to introduce you Miss Vicky Laszlo in this episode. Vicky, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I just want to add one more thing. Vicky is also a licensed social worker and a licensed alcohol and
addictions counselor.
And addiction mentor. So Vicky, now attention to you is that you are a business owner. And of course, you have to file taxes, and all the taxes that AJ mentioned, you also have to deal with it. You find a way, I guess, to overcome this stress. But, what have you noticed in the last couple of years, several years, that why are people getting so stressed out about the taxes, and what do you do about that?
Well, for sure, people have probably always been stressed about taxes, and these are our knowns. However, I tend to see more since the pandemic, which if you can think of it, that's like a trauma to everybody, has been, and brought up extra fear.
Right.
And due to that, if you can think of that part of our brain, which is fight, flight, or freeze response, which is almost like a protective, instinctual part of our brain is on hyper alert. So if you can think of it, it's like on magnifying glass. So all the more we feel that seeing that anxiety like in a magnified in us. So as a result, we feel that everything is an attack instead of that something that we can solve. So having a brain on this hyper alert is dangerous to us to live that way, because if you can think of, you're always in a hyper alert state.
Makes sense.
With that, we are not trying to connect and find strategies. Instead, we're trying to find a way of protecting ourselves, and therefore either fight the system, flee from it,
yes,
or freeze.
Right.
And when we freeze, then we become like analysis paralysis, or just go into ourselves and don't do anything. And therefore, this is where, believe it or not, you having these strategies is really effective, because you're creating a safety. I don't think you even realize that.
Absolutely.
Because by creating calmness in that part of the brain, you're giving a solution, and therefore we can feel safe within ourselves and go and do things that are effective and live our life, connect with our families, enjoy life.
Absolutely.
Because
100%.
you're solving that anxiety in a sense. But until people know that, it feels like I have to protect myself. And so it takes
So-
people to calm down enough to seek that.
Yep.
All right, so let's put in a real layman language for our viewer.
Mm-hmm.
AJ talked about 3 strategies. He said planning, implementation, and execution. Right, AJ, if I'm correct?
We have to have a strategy, then we have a plan,
And then
and then we have the implementation,
Right.
execution.
And then Vicky, you mentioned fight, freeze, and free.
Flight, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fight, flight,
So
and
those happen meaning we as individuals pick different ones, meaning like a rabbit will run away or freeze.
Yes.
A lion will attack.
Yeah.
Every single mammal or creature has these protective instincts. So it's a matter of which one we happen to go by, right? So somebody who basically, when feels attacked, starts yelling back, that's their way of doing it, where somebody else will cower and go inward. So it's
Right.
really all of them together are in the same spot.
All right, so now let's talk about a person comes to you, person is stressed out about taxes. I'm using example, person has to pay $20,000 in taxes. He or she is really stressed out. The person is a small-sized business owner, right? What are the methods that you use to take that mental stress away from that person's head? He can't avoid it, he or she can't avoid it. The taxes, the taxes and the debt, they said that you can't avoid it. These are the 2 things that are going to come in your life no matter what, right? So what are the basic things that you would explain to the person so that way his or her stress level goes down?
See, just to add one thing over there, it's a state of mind, stress. So if I were to tell you that you lost one eye, you would be extremely stressed about it. But on the other hand, if
you say you have still one eye.
Everybody else lost 2 eyes. You are the only one who lost one eye. Would you be stressed about it? So go back to the same example that you had. You have to pay $20,000 in taxes. If I were to tell you made $100,000 last year, not many people did make $100,000 last year. Now, are you stressed in the same? I'm not saying the liability is going away.
Correct,
and there were
correct.
strategies, planning that you could use to either minimize this tax liability or to pay it upfront, some part of it.
All right.
But now if we rephrase the same question, that you made $100,000, congratulations. Not many people made $100,000, Sanjeev, last year.
All right, so now with that note, let's hold on to it because we're running over time for the break. Viewers, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about taxes and mental stress, how they are related, and how it can help you to come out of mental stress. Coming back after these messages. Welcome back to the second half of the Tax Talk with AJ. As you know by now, the show is brought to you by Science CPA Services. Visit their website to get all the information that you really need to know. But let me tell you, their experienced, on-hand, knowledgeable CPAs can help you with any tax-related problem, whether it's a personal tax issue or even business tax-related issue. They can assist you over the phone, in-person meeting, or even a Zoom meeting. Anything and everything is possible. Remember, Science CPA Services is one of the most reputable tax firms here in the state of New Jersey, and they believe one thing: to do taxes right. No matter refund or to pay taxes, that's a different thing. But to do your taxes right, that's a Science CPA Services firm that you can trust them, because their staff and the entire staff led by Mr. AJ Kumar really guides you, meaning taxpayer, in the right direction. Besides that, they can also help you with bookkeeping services, payroll services, virtual CEO, virtual CFO. All can be at your fingertips. They can reach at 908-888-8900, 908-888-8900. In today's episode, we're talking about taxes, but with taxes, we also have an issue called mental stress. And for mental stress, we have very experienced and knowledgeable individual, over 30 years of experience. She's a licensed social worker. She is a licensed addiction issue. If a person has any addiction issues, she can also help that person out. And she's the founder and owner of Laszlo Center. Hope and Healing is where you find in Vicky's office. And Vicky is our guest today. Vicky, before the break, as I mentioned that, before we go into it, the one question I really want to ask you, that you said in the beginning and in the first half that the people always get stressed out with the taxes. It's been happening for years and everything. But my question to you, just a basic question in a short, have you seen more people getting stressed out than before?
I
You
do.
have. You
I
have.
do.
And for that, I guess we blame Uncle Sam, because Uncle Sam is making all the tax-related changes every year.
Maybe that's part of it. I think there's lots of changes of all kinds in the world. I mean, politics changes, living arrangement
Right.
changes. So I'm not sure where it's causing, but I definitely see it. And definitely the pandemic had a lot to do with it as well.
Okay, so now let's come back to this question that before the break when we paused, is that what are the methods you use? If a person comes frustrated, upset and says, listen, I need help. How do I come out of this stress? I can't sleep at night.
And some of it was what AJ said, was the mindset. And so some of it is that scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, right? Because that's really what you just brought up. So having a frame of mind is where we can control some things, is depending how I'm approaching the problem. So this is where sometimes we tell ourselves lots of stories about ourselves, right? Like how our life is. And the question becomes, do the stories serve us or do they destroy us? And so some of it is switching things around, is because how you reframed it is really reframing it into a story that works well for me,
Now,
right?
what AJ is a tax expert. AJ is a CPA, MBA. He lives, breathes, eats, drinks, taxes, and taxes. He used the tax angle that, listen, last year you made so much money, you paid little tax. Now this year you have to pay tax. He said that. And then somebody paid more taxes, you're paying less taxes. A friend of mine, a friend of yours next door pays 50,000 taxes. You're only paying 20,000. These are the okay things. It's a tax related. Do you use some of the individual's personal background to show them better light in the personal life, that look, you have beautiful children, they're grown-up children, they're educated, they're making money and this and that, you're paying taxes, but look at the other side, you're so happy in a personal life and you're making decent living. Do you have to use those angles to reduce stress?
That's some of it. I would say that's stuff everybody knows anyway. But the problem is this part of the brain is the thinking part of the brain. But when the other part is screaming, guess what? The whispering of all the good stuff you just said isn't happening.
Oh, I see.
So first, I aim to teach people on how to calm their brain nervous system. And I guess my favorite strategy is really what is literally a neurologist can tell is like, I don't know if you know the medicine Xanax, which is to calm people down.
Yes.
Well, I'm not recommending that one. However, on a brain scan, literally doing box breathing for 3 minutes does the same thing on a brain scan as Xanax. So basically, and that's to calm your brain down. And so what that looks like is taking taking a breath in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. Wow. Doing that 3 minutes calms that part of the nervous system. So if you can think of the balance then it's created inside the brain, our thoughts and our feelings. But if our feelings are here screaming and our thoughts are here, do you think anybody's not aware of this? If I tell them logically, right? I'll say, do you know this? Yep, I know this. But yet this takes over. And that's when we feel illogical. And so anxiety, when it's managed, and there's a lot of techniques. And this is what many techniques, like this is why people do come to our retreats and mini retreats and our wellness events, because this is where we practice literally those calming strategies. So then we can be rational beings, because if you realize, right, when we're super anxious, a desperate man will grab for barbed wire.
So then, then my next question to you is that, let's say a person is getting divorced. Let's say a person got fired from one of his high-paying jobs. Person's businesses didn't work out and they are stressed out. You think that to help individual in those scenarios could be a little better than helping individual who is really stressed out about taxes?
I think they probably have similar strategies, believe it or not, because stress is stress felt inside our bodies. And when we are calm enough to be then logical, many a times we're knowledgeable enough or know to seek out, let's say, a person like you. But when I'm panicking, a person can have a panic attack and they may know all the strategies to do and they just can't implement it. So lowering that anxiety and knowing how to control your brain is going to help you be like, that's kind of having, you'll be driving the car, but you know how to drive it, so it's not skidding all over the place.
All right, so to make it in simple words, let me just tell you, and we're going to verify with these two individuals. One is Vicky Laszlo, who is 30 years of experience in healing individuals' mental stress. And then the other one is AJ, CPA and MBA with Science CPA Services. A person is really stressed out about taxes. As I said, taxes are inevitable. You're going to have to pay that. None of them are capable enough to call IRS and reduce that person's tax liability, right? That's not going to happen.
That's not how it works.
That's not going to happen.
Although, if I recall correctly, you've said many a times that these are tax deductible. Like, so
Yes.
Therapy,
Even after that,
and all the wellness events, based on what you say, they're tax deductible. So really,
Absolutely.
it's helpful all around.
So AJ, now continue from there. That implementation, execution.
Absolutely. A lot of it boils down to planning. It's a state of mind. If you knew that you would owe 20,000 at the end of the year, you wouldn't be as stressed about it anymore. Just because you found it out suddenly, if you were doing the monthly bookkeeping, if you were paying your quarterly estimated taxes, if you knew in your mind that last year I paid $10,000 and this year my income is more than twice compared to last year, you wouldn't be as stressed about it. You would have approached the professional, the accountant, the CPA beforehand, and now you're not stressed. You could have come up with some strategies. Say maybe you could invest somewhere into retirement plan, so lower your income. You could go for some therapies, which is tax deductible again. So the idea is, if you knew where you're going to be, you could plan accordingly. You could invest some money into real estate. You could convert some loss harvesting. If you have some money in the stock market, maybe you could sell some stocks that are losing money. You could do something about it. Once you have a strategy, you could plan it. Now I know that my income is going to be this much, and I probably will owe 20,000 in taxes in this example. What can I do now? What can I do today? You still have time before the end of the year to make a difference, not only to lower the tax liability, but whatever I owe, do I need to be paying it now, quarterly, before the year end? So I'm not stressed. So, or at least you have a plan around it.
All right, and one more thing, if I can add into this thing, when you say planning, and I remember that we really emphasize planning. During the tax season, our show is Tax Talk with AJ. And after the tax season, we bring in a business talk with AJ, right? And come September, October, AJ, every week we let viewers know that this is a time for you to sit down and look at what income you have made so far, what you're going to be making at the end of the year.
Very good example.
And if there is a way that you can invest money in any one of those IRA or the other plans to reduce your tax liability, we always remind them. But very few people really take that into notice, that you can reduce your tax liability. If you think $20,000 that tax payment is so high, if you sit down and review it, AJ or someone in his office, they will guide you where you can invest money before December 31st. Let's not even wait till 31st. Just say before December 30th that you can invest money and reduce your tax liability substantially. All right, AJ. So that's what we discussed, that way before year end, you can sit down and do your taxes, planning and everything, and then reduce your tax liability. With that note, let's go to our guest, Vicky Laszlo. Vicky, your closing comments and any good suggestion that you can give to our viewers to reduce stress.
To think about, like, when planning for taxes, almost thinking like a recipe, is can you break down just like a recipe into different portions and pieces, and to try and do that, as in like how to prep for things, get your deduction stuff in one place and do it piece at a time, sort of like following a recipe. Okay. And the other one is focus on what can you control versus what you can't, right? We can't control that we can pay taxes, but I can control whether I have a positive state of mind about it. I can control whether I put it aside for today and spend time and have wonderful dinner with my family, who I'm trying to provide for my family, but I'm not going to neglect them because I'm focusing and stressing over taxes. So like putting that aside and go, okay, but I can control about the positive and the wonderful things that I'm focused on.
Thank you. AJ, your last one.
I think it's a wonderful point. I mean, taxes are what the taxes are. We know there are two things certain, death and taxes. But knowing what you can control, what you cannot control, having some planning around it, having some strategy around it, can help you manage your tax situation better. taxes everybody pays, but pay your fair share. You don't have to be paying more than what you have to pay, and then don't pay it at the end of the year. Come up with a plan where you are paying some quarterly estimated taxes, and if you have a small business, more importantly, make sure you're not paying any interest and penalties around it.
All right, very good. My final take on this matter is that no need to stress out on taxes. It's not worth it. Taxes. And plus IRS gives you all the options to pay in installments and everything else. So use that. And no need to stress out. That's my simple solution to you viewers. Vicky, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you
for
so
being
much
here.
for having
Thank you.
me.
Really, we enjoyed it. AJ, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I am Sanjeev Pandya. Until we meet again, same place, same time, keep smiling, and I wish you all happy tax-free days ahead. So long.
Thank you.